Welcome back to Badger State Ball. We're here after a week off. Thanks for joining us. We took a week off in the holidays, and now we're here to talk about Jucos. We've spent a lot of time updating the rankings, talking about some of the current high schoolers, but junior college baseball, big in Wisconsin, big nationally. We have two Juco alums here on the podcast as well, so big place in our hearts, and wanted to highlight that. There are also a lot of rule changes going around with Jucos, not necessarily ones that are set in stone, but ones that are sort of floating around and probably honestly kind of changing by the week. So we'll break down those a little bit, talk about it. Not necessarily that there's concrete things that you should do in light of the new rules, but just shed a little bit of light on that situation. And then, of course, Vinny will join us at the end for the Rotino report. So we've got a big Juco episode. We could honestly probably spend a couple episodes talking about junior colleges, given how good Juco baseball has become in the upper Midwest and a lot of guys choosing the Juco route. But we are going to just spend one episode and try to condense it all into an hour or less for you guys. Before we get going too far, make sure if you enjoy the podcast to subscribe to us on YouTube, to follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to or watch our show, and follow us on Twitter or X at PrepBaseballWI. So Andy, Josh, thanks for joining us today to talk about Juco baseball.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. This is Josh Field's favorite episode, I think. Big junior college guy. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I've been bugging you guys just for the last couple days, just how excited I am about this. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that time of year. Like junior college baseball is the thing that really starts the 2025, the new year baseball calendar every year. So I think getting to talk about this means baseball's right around the corner.
Yeah, 100%. Later on this upcoming month, we're going to be releasing our D1 and D2 junior college rankings, team rankings. So be on the lookout for that later in January.
Yep, where Madison is constantly a staple, probably will be the case again in 2025. So we'll talk about those guys, how they're able to attract some of the top talent in Wisconsin and get the most out of them, develop them, and we'll talk about some alums from there, from Madison JC, what they do right, why it's such a strong option for kids to consider, not just Madison, but there's some examples in Iowa, elsewhere that have thrived not just at the junior college, but beyond, next level, pro ball even.
Yeah, I feel like Juco baseball bookends the season. Juco baseball is always the first to start and also the last to finish in some ways. Even I remember during COVID when everyone else got shut down, Juco baseball went on longer than everyone else. So there's just this relentlessness, I feel like, about junior college baseball that's always there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very on brand that junior college baseball was the thing that kept us watching baseball to some degree during the pandemic and stuff. So thank you, junior college baseball.
Yeah, we've talked about why junior college baseball is maybe a good fit for people a little bit, but we wanted to spend a little bit more time talking about that first before we get too deep into some of the specific players who are right now on junior college rosters, either in Wisconsin or ones who hail from Wisconsin around the country now. And Vinny always talks about finding his fit. So since Vinny's not with us right now on the podcast, have to mention it on his behalf, because finding your fit is important, and oftentimes that best fit, especially from a baseball perspective, could be the junior college route. Fields, you were at junior college at the junior college level for a while. What made junior college an effective option for you?
So yeah, I mean, I dealt with some injuries throughout my career, so the more hands-on nature that you can get in junior college, like especially me trying to get back to where I was, like that helped tremendously, just being able to get my hands and combine minds with the coaches and training staff to get better. Like especially going through injury, it was definitely a pro for my experience.
Yeah, there are a lot of positives. I think one of them is the hands-on. There are fewer restrictions on practice time also, which can work both ways. If you like having more downtime away from the field, then it can be a challenge sometimes, but also you do have more practice time so you can develop more. So if your top priority is developing more as a player, the junior college level might be the right fit for you. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, if you work hard, if you develop at the junior college level, which is more often than not the case, you can go to a better school than you were before. I mean, I was a 4-year school and then went to MATC for a year and was able to go to a better school, better Division II school than I was at previously. Coming off my junior college season, I pitched more at the Juco level my sophomore year significantly than I did my freshman year at a 4-year school because I wasn't competing with 5th-year seniors anymore. I was competing with guys who were a little bit younger, and gaining that experience of playing more definitely helped. There's some other, I think, barriers to junior college baseball. I mean, there's sort of a negative stereotype around junior colleges, community colleges in society in general, but there are a few benefits. Saving money is one of them. That's just from a real practical standpoint. We don't really talk about that from the baseball perspective, but scholarships are often available at the junior college level, sometimes more than at 4-year schools, of course, more than a Division III school. There's the academic reputation of junior colleges where the stigma comes in a little bit, like, oh, he's going to a junior college, and there is obviously that stigma for a reason. At the same time, I didn't really find there to be a huge gap in learning or in academics with that. For me, it has worked out where I still have been able to progress a little bit in terms of a career, and that hasn't been a barrier. In fact, if you give a reason why you went to a junior college and it was to develop and to play baseball and save money, there's certainly some merit in that. But also, I think, know yourself, know what you want. Some players don't want to have to adjust and go through recruiting a second time, and so then that might be a consideration that you might choose to find a better fit for you at the Division II or the Division III or NAIA level, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, a ton of good points there, David. I think a lot of those are personal anecdotes, but I think some that like will resonate with people listening to this. Like, just being realistic. Like, I think this ties into a lot of what our conversation was like with Sean Wegner a couple weeks back, in that knowing yourself, your ability, like what you're looking to get out of school, is kind of the first and foremost thing you need to address with yourself, with your parents, before really sitting down and considering like your options at the next level. Because if playing time is right at the top of your list, or right near the top of your list, like, then there are fewer and fewer options at a 4-year school, just with the rule changes that we keep referencing each podcast. And we'll continue to reference on this one since there's been some recent change that's affected the junior college scene directly. But it seems like if playing time, just getting better, developing, if those things are like right at the top of your list, then junior college baseball might soon be your only option, or at least the primary option for you at the next level. But that doesn't mean that you're not a good player or anything. Obviously, like, I think the stigma of junior college rat to a degree, like, will kind of like change, or like at least like it'll need to adapt somewhat, because it'll be the predominant path for like the majority of high school players as they transition to the next level. So with that, like, it'll take most of the players. I think that'll be the path forward. So it kind of like will change like our perception, I believe, of what like that means for like those players that seek junior college baseball. I mean, it'll be the only path. So like, I think that means a different thing, like that caliber of player kind of changes. And so you need to think about that moving forward. It'll just mean different things, I think, from this point on.
Yeah, UWM is the only Division I in the state, and 12 of their players, when I was going through their roster, were Juco guys. So, I mean, that's a third, a quarter of their roster played at junior colleges. So if you're looking to get to that Division I level, if you're looking to stay home, is junior college a guarantee that you will get to the D1 level? No, not at all. But it certainly gives you a good chance of it. And even Owen Rice, who was drafted by the Cardinals, he was a Juco guy previously. Michael Carpenter, who was drafted by the Twins, he was a Madison College pitcher and drafted straight out of Madison College. We're going to save this for the end, but I think it's relevant given the discussion right now of the success of junior colleges and guys who move on. I mean, some of the most successful players in Wisconsin in recent years have been junior college guys. Christian Opper was drafted in, the 4th round, 5th round out of a junior college. He was from Wisconsin. Brandon Comar's been in the minors for some time. Eli Hoyt is now at Louisville, and he was a Madison guy. Mitch Mueller, professional arm. Fields, I mean, you know Juco players a lot better than I do. Who are some of the other ones who benefited from Jucos and now are maybe at a Power Four? Is it Power Four now? Power Four conferences?
Three, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Top conferences.
Yeah, or
I
even
mean,
playing professionally.
Yeah, so you glossed over some of the guys that are at the Power Fours or just at good mid-majors in the pros. Brandon Comar, Michael Carpenter, for example. I mean, we also have Trevor Teets, who I actually played my first weekend in college. He was at Jeffco, and Brian Stratton went down there for the first weekend series, and Trevor Teets actually just carved us, and we ended up losing that game. So he actually ended up being a UDFA signing by the Brewers in that 2020 season, I believe. So, yeah, and then there's also just some more recent examples of just guys that went to a junior college and worked their butts off to get to a Power 4 school, like Will Johannes, middle of the order bat for Madison this past year. Alex Breckheimer was the ace for Brian Stratton for the past 2 years and was a mid-90s arm.
Yeah, Fields, I was going to say,
if
if you want to spend some time just talking about Alex Breckheimer, because I feel like his path kind of resembles exactly what we're referring to. Like, he wasn't like this, top 25 or even, we were unfortunately like low on him. Like, we just kind of missed him and whatever. Like, he goes to junior college, thrives, like, and is like, has pro guys looking at him, power fours, power threes, whatever you want to call them. And then you followed his path like kind of closely. So if you want to just walk us through that, I think that'd be good.
Alex Breckheimer was another example of just a guy that worked his butt off once he got to campus at a junior college. As a freshman, he was 86 to 88 in the fall, and then in the spring, I saw him again. He was up to 90, and then once again, the fall of his sophomore year, he ticked up again to 92, just showing he was a more physical version of himself, more cleaner, and just understood how to pitch better. And then once again, I kept hearing in the winter just how much this guy's working, and they were sending me clips of bullpens and just pictures of his Rapsodo sessions, and I could tell he was poised for another big spring for Brian Stratton. And then another velo jump happened, and then we got to see him up in the mid-90s with just more stuff. Just all of his stuff ticked up. The entire arsenal, the changeup, the two breaking balls, the fastball. And then that's when he just started getting the power fours, the pro teams on him. I saw a couple pro teams at some of his starts. I saw the University of Kansas at his start, and I know that University of Michigan had called him. So, yeah, Alex was definitely the guy this past year that just really took off and really just unlocked another level at junior college.
Yeah, I think it's the junior college system is like perfectly set up for someone like Alex Breckheimer, in my opinion. So if you like identify with any of his stories from small town Wisconsin, he's a bigger kid. I think we saw him at a tournament here or there, but like it was like a bigger kid who maybe didn't throw a ton of strikes, who has like maybe less velo than you would have expected of a kid that size or something. Whatever, like not worth writing off, but a player who maybe has a ways to go, like needs development essentially. But clearly what we didn't know about him at the time was that he had this massive work ethic that ended up paying off for him at the next level, like in a ton of different ways. Like, so exactly that, like going there, pitching right away, earning the opportunity to pitch right away, taking that, running with it, thriving, and now, opened up ton of doors for himself. Like I think that just sums up like the JUCO level, the JUCO opportunity right there. So I mean, kudos to him, and there's a ton of guys like that on this list.
Yeah, and I think especially in Wisconsin, you get fewer reps than you do in other warmer weather states. So having those additional reps at the junior college level can be particularly helpful because you're often a little bit behind in terms of development from some of the other states, especially if you do want to leave Wisconsin and go to some of the colleges in other areas.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, I mean, again, like referencing what we talked about earlier in this podcast and others, like knowing yourself. Like if you're someone who's a one sport guy who's really focused on baseball, and which is totally fine, and you've kind of like maximized your talent levels and stuff, and if you know that about yourself and you have some like 4-year opportunities out of high school, ones that you're even excited about, like okay, like maybe that's for you then. Maybe that spot, like you like their academics, like they check a lot of boxes for you. Like maybe JUCO isn't your best route, but if you're a small town kid who's played a ton of different sports, baseball's your favorite one, you just haven't had the time yet to focus solely on it. Like okay, then perfect. Like it sounds like junior college, finding the right junior college program, the coaches, the playing time opportunities, and so on. Like it sounds like that could definitely be your fit. So again, just taking the time to assess who you are and your abilities and your aspirations, like that's the stuff, that's the work that you need to do beforehand.
Yeah, and that physical development too, like Owen Rice being an example of that. He was, I think, a few inches shorter and like 80 pounds lighter when he finished high school. So he had a lot of physical development that he did in junior college and at the 4-year level, but that's a lot easier to do at the junior college level because you're usually still able to get innings, or you're more likely to get innings than you would at a D1 like UWM. Or for me, I went to a small school that we didn't really have many non-conference games in the spring, didn't pitch as much in general because of that, had my senior season canceled with COVID, so I was behind in terms of innings, so I needed more innings to develop as a pitcher. So the JUCO route eventually wound up being helpful for me because I just didn't have that much time. I probably had about half the innings that the average pitcher, even in Wisconsin, did over the course of a couple of years. So there are some good reasons to go to a junior college. Again, there are reasons that you could go to a 4-year school directly out of high school too, but these are some of the reasons why maybe you should consider going to a junior college. And those reasons are changing. They're a little bit fluid right now. You may be following along with some of the court cases that the NCAA is in related to football, with the quarterback who basically asked for an extra year of eligibility because he used one at an NJCAA school, saying that the NCAA couldn't legislate it because it was not in their governing body, not under their guise as under their rule as a NCAA body. And so the NCAA lost the case, at least initially, and so they're granting an extra year of eligibility to current NCAA athletes who spent a year at the junior college level. So how might this affect student athletes? Because this is a pretty big ruling. So for example, if you maybe spent your first 2 years at a junior college and you're a senior right now, then you would be in your final year of eligibility. Now because of this, you're able to stay for a 5th year, and that impacts rosters pretty much all the way down, the trickle-down effect, transfers, and all that sort of thing. So how might this affect athletes?
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, since we talk about a different NCAA change, recruiting rules change, every podcast, it feels like, I think if you're listening to this and in high school, probably don't let it affect you at this time, just because there's so much that does change. And like David said, like this rule currently only affects one class. Like, is it a signal that it will become a new rule change that's instituted like indefinitely for every class or every junior college athlete, like eventually? Maybe, it's very possible, but it's kind of just speculation now. But we can talk about like those hypotheticals. I think they're worth talking about a little bit here. But I think for the most part, and this is more of a discussion that we can have on this, but for the most part, I think this will affect like the very, very high level programs. So think of like an SEC school, LSU or something, that at that level, winning baseball games, like it is the final, that is the what we're trying to achieve day in, day out, whatever that means, whatever it takes. So I think with that being said, like they're going to even more so with this rule change, like say it were, affecting every class from here on out, you just have like an older, more experienced, like more talented, I guess you could say, player who is 25, 26 years old even, that you could fill your roster with, as opposed to these 18, 19, 20-year-olds even. And I think that's how it would affect things moving forward. You'd have a lot of those kids at that age playing and competing at those levels. So the trickle down effect like probably wouldn't be felt necessarily just straight away right out of high school. I think it would mean that you'd have even more kids needing to pursue or consider junior college like programs as their baseball homes straight out of high school. I think that would be a ramification eventually that you'd need to factor in here. But I think more or less like how much would it affect like mid majors like in a sweeping way? Like not so much. Maybe that you'd have more examples of those players who are older on the older end of the like college eligibility spectrum that would be on their roster. But still, you'd have plenty of traditional paths from 1 or 2 years at a junior college and eventually finds their way in the right fit at a mid major or even low level type power 3 type program. So I don't know. We'll see how it like plays out, but I think just right away that's what initially strikes me. Do you guys have any takes on that?
Well, it seems like it could become like juniors in hockey. In juniors, I think, is it 2 years? I'm not real brushed up on my hockey knowledge. Andy, you went to school in Minnesota, right?
I did, yeah, but I don't remember. But like, I actually like following the hockey draft, which is just like a funny thing about me. But even with that, I don't have a full on understanding of like how they do their junior stuff. But it does bring up an interesting point of like, is that the future of the MLB draft? Like, it could be kind of fun if there were more. Right now, there is like a draft and follow system set up in baseball. It's relatively, or it existed for a long time, didn't, and then has been back for a few years. Where you can draft a junior college player and they can return to school and they're still their rights are still kind of owned by that team. There's some intricacies to that rule, but either way, that's how it works. But in hockey, that's a little bit more free flowing. Like they're guys at University of Wisconsin playing hockey who have already been drafted and they're just still playing there. So is that like the future? It's like possibly like maybe it's just another arm of like the minor leagues, but I think there's a lot here that will need to be uncovered. But maybe it's for the best. Like it's just hasn't been ironed out yet. There's some fun paths here too that could be mutually beneficial for everyone.
We need to call Vinny back so he can tell us all the random Brewers draft and follows over the last 25 years.
Yeah, he's probably got some deep cuts for sure.
I know Tim Dillard was one, and Lorenzo Cain.
Oh yeah, Lorenzo Cain. Yeah, I knew Lorenzo Cain was. That's a good callback though.
Draft and follow
Christian
guys. Yeah,
Opera was also a draft and follow.
Yeah, since they brought that rule back, Christian Opper from Columbus High School nearby me, I should say. But he was drafted and followed by the White Sox. Or is that right? Actually, was he drafted and followed by the A's, and then he was because
it was the A's and the White Sox.
Yeah, because one of the rules for the draft and follows is like if you can. I think it's up to the player, right? So if they're a draft and follow, I think he was like a draft and follow in the 7th round. Had increased his draft stock, basically. So I think he decided to not sign, and then kind of reinsert himself into the draft, and he got drafted at a higher round. But maybe if he didn't have the year he had quite hoped for, he would have just opted to sign that 7th round pick for that money from the year prior. So that's kind of how the draft and follow rules work now. So they would have to be altered. But it's fun to think about having some whatever LSU kids that are already drafted or something like that, or even lower levels. I think that could be interesting for the game.
Yeah, and it seems like it could become where, as you were mentioning, Andy, that like maybe high-level colleges become sort of not fake, but alternatives to minor league baseball. Mm-hmm. We're already seeing guys that make the jump quicker. I think the development in college is better. The talent level has been raised with some of the older guys over the last 4 or 5 years now because of COVID. But even Dylan Cruz in the majors, as soon as he got there, Wyatt Langford, Paul Skeens is probably the biggest example. Even go back a few years to Garrett Crochet. But these guys were jumping, if not straight from college, they were jumping straight to AA even maybe, and in the majors within a year. I feel like we might see more of that just because there's probably going to be more money in playing at an SEC school or an ACC school than there is if you're a 8th round draft pick or even a 4th round draft pick, maybe for that matter. So you might stay there longer, try to develop with guys who are 23, 24, maybe playing. And that certainly would change the landscape of minor league baseball to some degree. I don't think minor league baseball is going anywhere, but it might change the landscape a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's just a fun exercise to sort of think about because I think it would be more fun, right? Like if you had, let's say, Dylan Cruz was eligible as a freshman or sophomore, if some like rules change happen, but the team, maybe there's a way here where you can like trust that the development that Cruz is going to receive at LSU is just as good, if not better, or something than in your own farm system. Or that's just a fun outcome where it's like, okay, like he gets to return maybe for his junior year, maybe he gets drafted as a sophomore, gets to return for his junior season at LSU. They're hunting a national championship. The team clears it, and he's has already been drafted. He's committed to whatever the Nationals, but is still playing college baseball. I think there's some fun ways to go about this. Like so, hopefully something like that, and might not be too far down the road. Who knows? Just with how much things change, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just would be. It'd be fun to have a greater spotlight, I guess is what I'm getting at, on some guys who like the teams or the fans of these teams like know that their player on this college game that they're watching, the College World Series, like Nationals fan is seeking that game out, knowing that Dylan Cruz is on that team. I think that's just great for the game all the way around if there's a more of a relationship between this college baseball scene and the actual pro ball.
Agree. Yeah, I think probably the biggest pitfall for that would be on pitch count limits and the way that some college coaches use their pitchers. I wonder how that would work.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we're getting pretty far down the road about hypotheticals.
Yeah,
so maybe we should start talking about some of the players who are playing JUCO right now and some of the standouts. Here at Prep Baseball Report, not our Wisconsin guys necessarily, but the national JUCO scouts and writers, they created a top 50 JUCO prospects around the country, and there are 3 Wisconsin guys that are on that list. One of them attends a Wisconsin-based JUCO. The other 2 left for other JUCOs but are originally from here. Ethan Plog is a top one, and he's the number 2 recruit, JUCO recruit in the country, according to our scouts here at Prep Baseball. He's from the Green Bay area, goes to Iowa Western now, and he was a number 10 player in last year's senior class, and he's already committed to LSU, talking about maybe Plog, if he's in college long enough, could be there to feel these rules that Andy's hoping for. But number 2 in the country, that's a big statement. So, Fields, you saw him probably, 35 times in high school. What makes Ethan Plog so special?
Yeah, I think 35 times might be on the low end, just considering how much I've seen Ethan Plog. Just wanted to actually, Andy and I saw Ethan Plog as a sophomore when he was a sophomore year, throwing 79-81. Ton of strikes, confident and feel for his entire arsenal. So and then he just got to work, and that's what was different about him. After we originally saw him, every single time we saw him afterwards, he got better and better and continued to get better until where we're at now. Number 2 junior college player in the country, LSU commit as a freshman, and LSU committed him without him even throwing on the fall circuit. So in junior college, the fall, you get to play a bunch of games just in front of these college coaches, and a lot of times if you're at a bigger program, they'll try and hide their freshmen to, hey, I want him here for 2 years. So Ethan commits as a freshman just because of how great the talent is, and it's just the work ethic and also the competitive nature that Ethan has, and we've recently mentioned with Alex Breckheimer before.
Yeah, he obviously went to a bigger school, a bigger area. I went to Bayport, and but yeah, like Fields said, a crazy rise in ability here. He was a left-handed pitcher who I guess you'd call it like a soft toss pitchability guy when he was younger. You liked it. He threw strikes and he got a ton of outs. He just was 79-81, but he just got way more explosive. Even when it was totally different. Even at 82-85, you know what I mean? Fields, we saw him miss a ton of bats, a couple times, I think, at the Rock, where he was mostly mid-80s. But it felt like a mid-80s that was way more competitive and just clearly ready to get outs like at the next level. So it was kind of like throw the velo out a little bit because that's how good he was. And then the stats kind of backed it up. He has this ridiculous junior year in high school. It gets everybody out. I think gave up like one earned run or something like that all year. And then basically had a very similar 2024, his senior year. So just dominated in high school, more of the same in the travel circuit, so in the summers, and then eventually like lands a commitment to Iowa Western, but had his pick, I think, or it seemed like he had a ton of high level recruiting coordinators in on him. But then lands at like one of the best Midwest options to go to junior college baseball. And then here, fast forward now, it's like he's committed to LSU and he's one of the best pitching prospects, junior college pitching prospects in the country. So crazy. It's a ridiculous rise. I think we should talk about Ethan even more. I'm excited to follow him in his spring.
Fields, would you say your scouting career has led up to this point where you got to sit and talk about Ethan Plog on a podcast?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Ethan is he is like the mascot, I think. So Ethan, if you could hook us up, maybe come on, talk about your journey here, because he's the mascot of the pod for me. Ethan Plog, Plogcast.
The podcast, I like that.
The Plogcast.
It's good. It's a good. Got a good ring to it. If you work a little bit further down the list, past Plog, there's some other talented arms. All three of the guys are pitchers. Jonah Conrad is at number 34. He's down at McLennan Community College in Texas. He's an Oregon commit. He went to Hortonville here in Wisconsin for a couple of years and then transferred to a prep school in South Carolina. But he's still, I mean, he's a Wisconsin guy, so it's not like, you know, he did a lot of developing in Wisconsin and ultimately can trace his roots back here. He's someone who spent a little bit of time at Arkansas and then bounced back to that junior college level. Logan Henderson, Brewers, one of the Brewers' top pitching prospects, he went to McLennan and was, I think, a fourth-round pick by the Brewers. So Conrad maybe could be that next guy. Do you think he's a pro arm, Fields? I mean, you saw him, I know, a number of times. Or Andy, I guess both of you have been here long enough to have seen Conrad. Is he somebody who's maybe a pro arm along with Plog?
Yeah, well, I'll just mention, too, like our Texas scouting director, Brandon Goins, he sees a ton, obviously, with just the level of talent at the junior college scene in Texas is off the charts. So he gets in there pretty good in the spring just to check in on like these power programs like McLennan. And he shot me a message just kind of out of nowhere, like, who is Jonah Conrad? Because he was mostly used as a reliever at McLennan. But he has the reliever high leverage arm like moxie, like he's kind of crazy on the mound, which I think he would take that as a compliment if he were here right now. Listening to this, so Jonah, like I think you know what I'm talking about, but he has a ton of swagger on the mound, and he's also got just this live arm to back it up, like velo, and he really spins, which that's something he's done his entire he did his entire prep career. That was kind of like the first thing we noticed. He had a fast arm, and he really knew to throw a breaking ball like from like his freshman year of high school, basically. So that's how he stood out to us. So he has a ton of pro traits as just a live flamethrower type with the aptitude to spin a breaking ball. So I'm eager to see where he goes as well. Like at Oregon, like that could be a really good fit for him. So I'm cheering for Jonah as always.
Yeah, that breaking ball is legit. I was watching Jonah Conrad videos before, and I was familiar with him, even though I hadn't been working here when he was still in high school and around the state. But yeah, and he got a big strikeout, and the intensity is there. You can see it pretty clearly, the competitiveness.
Yep, exactly.
So Conrad, Oregon commit, maybe he gets drafted. I mean, we'll see how the spring goes, but someone who's got the stuff. I think he was up to 95 this fall. So certainly got electric professional level stuff. And then you got Noah Marshke down at number 50, and he's along with Plog. He's a freshman. He's a lefty. Went to Spash, Stevens Point area high school, and I think he dealt with some injuries, but then he's bounced back from them. And now he was, I believe, about 88 and 90 in Indiana when we were watching him. this fall. So I mean, Fields, someone that's coming off an injury, maybe has some of that risk, but also he is that why he ended up at Madison, and still the talent is what makes him a guy that's a must follow on this top 50 list.
Yeah, Noah Marshke was somebody that Andy and I and Vinny have been a fan of for a while. He was a future gamer in my first year here, so obviously a talented arm and just a talented person. But the arm injuries kind of came at a tough time for him. So after the future games, he didn't throw much for the rest of his high school career. So then he ended up at Madison, like you said. We saw him down in Indy, and then I saw him again a week later, and it looked how it's supposed to be. It's a left-handed starter with a big breaking ball and a fastball up to 90, and he's developing a third pitch. And talking to Coach Davenport and Coach Turnquist over there, they think the sky's the limit for Marshke on the mound for them.
Yeah, not so much in stuff, but he does kind of resemble, I think, like Plog, in that he had like the most, as an underclassman, Noah Marshke had some of the best stats, I think, at Spash, like you could possibly put together. Like he struck everyone out, and he threw a ton of strikes, especially like as an underclassman, that always stands out to you. And he was more or less that guy even in the summers, like as he continued to move forward. So the injury timing sucked for him. Like that, like never want to see that. But if there are silver linings, it's like finding a home, maybe taking some years off, being forced to take some years off, some mileage on the arm, and getting to settle into a place like Madison Junior College that's a strong silver lining, I think, and like being able to hit the ground running from there, hopefully. And sounds like he looks more or less like his old self, and hopefully he still had that sweeper that was pretty nasty in high school. And if he's throwing strikes and just has feel for his arsenal there, I think he deserves this spot on this top 50 national junior college list for sure.
If he's at number 50 as a freshman, what does he need to do this spring or next fall even to become maybe top 10 or 20? Because it seems like it's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, like you said, with the nature of just where we are geographically in the country, and also Marshke just having the injury history, like the reps are just behind for him. So getting the winter, getting in the weight room, and just throwing program, we could realistically see a jump from Marshke this spring.
Yeah, and he relied on deception a little bit too. He kind of had a unique delivery. It worked kind of close down the mound, and you always just wonder, like, okay, let's see how that goes at the next level of junior college baseball. Is he able to kind of use that to his advantage still? Is that going to fool guys at this next level too? Like, I think it will. I think that's why he's on this list, and his stuff plays beyond that as well, but it sort of complements it. So with that being part of his game, just interested to see if it's able to continue to fool hitters at this level as well.
There's some other guys we wanted to highlight from the junior college ranks, and particularly the ones who are in Wisconsin. A couple of Marshke's teammates at Madison, two really good bats. Jalen Jellings, he's an infielder, redshirt sophomore, who's from Campbellsport. Marcelino Alonso, who graduated high school in 23. He's from Reedsburg. These are two athletic guys. Madison has a great history, not only with arms, but also with position players. What kind of jumps could you see these guys making in their sophomore years?
So, yeah, both of these guys have played a lot of baseball for Madison last year. So you already have a base on this team of just guys that have done it at the college level before. These are also two guys that performed down in Enid when they were at the World Series. So just having two guys like that in the lineup is super important, especially with the younger team that Madison is going to have this year. So just having two guys that are going to be able to play their position, take quality at bats just constantly, and just play defense, great defense, no matter where they're at in the lineup.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong examples of guys, if you find your way into close to everyday opportunities at Madison as a true freshman, first year on campus. There's a lot of good examples of guys that become fixtures in that team and maybe not just that team, but on future programs, both as sophomores at Madison and beyond. So like Jellings is one with his field to hit, which he was that same guy in high school. Actually, that Campbellsport team was pretty good that he was on. Joey Narat was on that team. He was at Dallas Baptist. So that was a strong team, and it doesn't surprise me that Jellings himself is hitting the ground running at Madison either. He was a bat-to-ball guy who was a pretty good athlete. Sounds like he's really fitting in at shortstop. So, having his experience from the year before, like Field said, like that's going to be a fresher roster. I think that's going to be really important for them. So this is a good group of players to lean on for Madison.
Brian Stratton also has a few high impact position players. Ashton Campa is one. He's a first baseman, but he's got legit power. I think I saw a video of him this fall hitting a homer off of Enoli Paredes in live ABs, right, Fields?
Yeah, I was actually Enoli Paredes was actually going to cook Ashton Campa some barbecue, and then he got claimed by the Cubs about a few hours later after that. So, fun story there. But,
Yeah.
So he never got the barbecue?
Never got the barbecue. Noli had to go
Hit a
report
bounce.
to his new team.
Fields, we saw Campa and Bryant and Stratton held a scout day, one of our Juco scout days this fall. And I was there, and Campa took one of the loudest rounds of BP like imaginable. Like it was pretty ridiculous actually. And you were at just about all of the junior college scout days, I think, like both in mostly in Illinois, but obviously some great junior college down there. Where does this Campa round of BP rank among all of the ones you saw in the fall? Because there were some, I mean, you were at John A., you were at, I mean, all the prominent schools, but this Campa round had to have been up there.
Yeah, it was definitely up there. So I can't really compare it to any round I saw this year, but in terms of just the nature of the BP, the loud, the hard contact in the air, especially like over the fence power, it was kind of reminiscent of the first year I was at John A. and I saw Ben Higdon just absolutely tear covers off of baseballs. So yeah, and now Ben Higdon is at went to Kentucky, and I believe he is down at Southern
or
Miss
something. Yeah. Yeah, that was this because it was right near me in Economwalk, and he I don't know if he hit a ball over the scoreboard. Something I don't know. It was ridiculous though.
It was over
He
the
hit.
score.
I want to say he hit like an ice cream cone or something. That was
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Oh
was
yeah.
Like a target?
Scoops, advertisement thing
Yes,
over the
yeah.
fence that he hit too. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. So Ashton Campa, if you're looking for left-handed power, Ashton Campa, look no further.
Yeah, Campa's. I mean, I feel like he's going to have a massive spring, and he even last year was pretty good. I think he had a big postseason home run for him. Hit 5 homers on the year. They also have Ryan Weed, Braden Plow, and those are both sophomores. They've got experience. They're from Wisconsin. I mean, are those guys? Are they Campa level bats? Are they maybe not quite the bat that Campa is, but great all around players with a little bit more positional versatility?
So both Ryan Weed and Braden Plow were all-region bats, second-team all-region bats last year as a freshman. Braden Plow played left field for them the entire year and is one of the best bat-to-ball guys in the region. Just flat out one of the best bat-to-ball guys in the region. Almost strikes out as much as he Ks, or strikes out as much as he walks, and finished the year batting .432 last year. So doesn't strike out. Every time you see him in a 2-strike count, he just fights off. You're expecting to see him like 4 more pitches in this at bat, probably with Braden Plow at the plate. So, and then Ryan Weed is just this super physical 6'5", 6'6" guy with just athleticism that jumps off the charts. Like this guy can windmill dunk actually, and as a freshman he was their starting third baseman, hit 6 home runs for them, a lot of multi-home run games, a lot of run production in the middle of the order from Ryan Weed, and especially with Ashton Campa batting in front or behind him. Like it was a formidable top of the order for Brian Stratton last year.
Yeah, Ryan Weed is another good example of like someone who can really benefit from junior college baseball. He's a massive kid. First of all, he's got these really long levers, and when you have long levers like Ryan does, it just takes like a lot of reps to kind of because you're still growing in high school, obviously, and kind of just need time to figure out your like coordination and stuff. And so seeing he was always like a talented kid, naturally really strong, on top of being massive, and he got those reps in college, 108 at bats, looks like here, 6 homers, so he's like clicking, figuring it out, needed that time to develop and actually, see the field, see those opportunities in the fall and so on. And, it's paying off clearly. So there you go.
Yeah, all three of them putting up impressive numbers, both, statistically, but also with their some of the scouting metrics. Campa 101 max exit velo in that round of BP. Ryan Weed 95 max exit velo, ran a 7:07 60-yard time, and also reached 88 miles an hour on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
And Braden Plew hit 432 last year in 118 at bats with Bryant Stratton. So all three of them, huge guys for Bryant Stratton to rely on this spring. Jaden Jung over at MATC, he was the number 99 player in the 2023 class out of Sun Prairie West, but he had an excellent freshman year, and he's someone that is an infielder and catcher even, could be a big impact guy at the next level, right?
Yeah, Jaden Jung, the bat is the carrying tool here. Jaden Jung finds the barrel at a high rate, and the ball really jumps off the bat. And Jaden Jung had 15 extra base hits last year as a freshman with 28 RBIs, and when you watch him impact the baseball, it's visible. Like, the ball jumps off the bat, and it's just different off the bat. So there's not too many guys where you can actually say that about just throughout all levels of baseball. Just, it's different off the bat.
Yeah, so talent really at all three of those junior colleges here, and then some of the freshmen. Madison, they had a very impressive freshman recruiting class this year. They were guys that we were seeing constantly throughout the spring as some of the best performers around the state. Sam Moses, Chase Baker, Brayson Berg, Paul Nutzel, they're all at Madison, and they were all top 100 guys for us. They were all excellent performers at their different schools, all Milwaukee area schools too, which playing some good competition. Not that other areas of the state aren't, but the Milwaukee area is very competitive for baseball. So I wish we could spend 5-10 minutes on each of these guys, but who are, maybe pick one or two, or maybe pick one thing about each guy that makes them a high ceiling freshman, someone to watch for this spring, and someone who maybe a year from now we're talking about could be on that top 50 national list, or at least could be a high level commitment.
Yeah, so all these Madison guys have something intriguing about them. They all have a tool that's going to carry them, that's going to make them contribute for the Wolfpack this year. Sam Moses could be a two-way contributor for them, could compete for innings on the mound, and is a quality defender and swings a really heavy right-handed barrel. It's similar to Jung. The ball jumps off the bat. It's easy power. Chase Baker has maybe the cleanest arm on their staff, and it's an easy 89-mile-an-hour fastball that he's just... It really plays at the top of the zone. It's just a high-ceiling arm for them. Brayson Berg showed a really advanced, really impressive two-pitch mix for you, David. It was up to 91 with a big breaking ball, big curveball that the curveball could play on its own, realistically. And then Paul Nutzel is a switch-hitting middle infielder. I think he might just bat mostly with his left, from the left side now, but that's an athletic up-the-middle defender that can really hit, and if you watch the swing, it's a really aesthetically pleasing swing, and it's a swing that is played for us. Like, he's hit for power and hit for average in front of us in the past, and it's something we could see at this level at Madison as well.
Yeah, Nutzel has a chance to be one of the names we're talking about in this top, we're referencing this top 50 list of national junior college prospects, and Nutzel, I'm really intrigued by his talent level and what kind of year he has at Madison, just because in high school, especially as a senior, kind of all came together for him as a senior at Homestead, where I always thought he was going to be an arm first and foremost, just because he has a really, really live arm, really fast arm. Threw hard, just didn't quite know where he was going at a younger age, but at the same time, like that's fairly common, so didn't really think too much about it. But just continued to hit, and from the left side, the swing just kept getting better and better and better. And then he hit for some power as a senior. It's a twitchy swing, like he's an athletic kid, referencing that arm speed, like that kind of shows in different avenues of the game as well. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see him just with the position, being a middle infielder, like might need some more reps there, but if he could figure that out, he's athletic enough to do it. He's got the left-handed swing with both, bat the ball and some potential, game power as well. So really curious about him just to see just how high he can continue to climb now that he's at a place that can really develop players.
Yeah, I watched him this year take one of Whitefish Bay's better arms. I forget which one it was, but take him dead center for a homer at Homestead's home field. So the bat was there. It was one game. I saw him other times, but that one specific game, he was excellent. He started that game too on the mound and pitched pretty well. So yeah, good two-way talent and someone who could be one of. There's a number of guys who could be Madison's sort of next guy, but Nutzel is definitely one of them. A few others. Jacob LeQuay, he's over at MATC, up to 90 miles an hour with a good breaking ball. And then Sean Dooley from McHenry, who's originally from Palmyra Eagle. These are both freshmen. Are these guys who we could see having a breakout year as a freshman? Are they guys that could be maybe in that conversation similar to these Madison guys?
Yeah, Dooley and McHenry. Actually, yeah, Fields, why don't you take Sean Dooley is someone we just didn't get to see enough of in high school and regret it because, he would have deserved to be way, way up here on the rankings. But I'm glad for his sake, like at McHenry, he's in really good hands there. They do a great job. But Fields, he's got a chance, huh?
Yeah, Sean's really got a chance. He's another guy that can be spoken in like, this guy could be on this top 50, top 100 list if we expand it. And he's just a low mileage arm with not a lot of like coaching in the past. We're talking about Palmyra Eagle. He didn't play club baseball until his the fall of his senior year, which is where we got our first look at him. Mm-hmm. And then he comes out at the McHenry Scout Day and shows a 4-pitch arsenal, has feel for all of them, throws strikes on all. He throws them for strikes. A couple weeks later, we see him throw down at Indy at the Puma Classic. I'm on this game because I'm going to watch Sean Dooley every chance I get. And the stuff was even better than it was in the bullpen. It was mostly 2 pitches here. He ran it up to 91. It was the curveball was ticked up in game. So did the fastball. He got swings and misses with the fastball and the breaking ball. And the breaking ball looks like it's bread and butter. It could be a weapon. It could be a pitch that he goes to at any time in the count.
Yeah, there are a few sophomores as well who we could be this time next year talking about these freshmen in the same scenarios, but they're committed guys. Connor Gidley from Rock Valley, he went to Turner. He's a Arkansas Pine Bluff commit. Jake Busson, he's from Hudson and is a UIC commit over at Iowa Central right now. Jax Heisel, Parkland commit. Owen Nowak from McHenry, he's a Middle Tennessee State commit, and Eddie Evelyn from Southeastern in Iowa. And he went to Lake Mills High School. So some of those guys are committed to these D1 programs. Jax Heisel, I'm I think 3 years older than him. When I was a junior, we practiced with his 8th grade team, and you could see it already back then. He hadn't physically developed yet. He was still probably about 5'6", 120 pounds, as most 8th graders are. But the actions were there. He's got the baseball lineage. His dad played indie ball. His grandpa's Larry Heisel, who was I think a 2 or 3 time All-Star. One of the better hitters in Twins history back in the 70s, and he's just got good baseball instincts. He's a hard worker. He's got great swing, switch hitter, up the middle defender, could stick it short. He's pretty much everything you could ask for in a prospect. But some of these other guys I'm a little bit less familiar with. Who are some of these guys that we talk about, the success stories of JUCOs, and that's the goal, is to make it to a higher level college than you would have been able to initially, and these guys have achieved that or maybe are in the midst of achieving that.
Yeah, Jake Bussin stands out for that reason here, because he was someone I felt like we as a staff collectively saw really, really good a bunch of times, like throughout his prep career at Hudson. We really like Hudson had a really strong like young core, like when Bussin was kind of coming up as an underclassman, and we were really high on them as a program, and they continued to churn out wins out west, and Bussin was sort of their motor on both sides of the ball, and had some power as a kid in high school. Pitched some big innings for them here and there. Just manufactured runs basically, and I was really happy to hear that at Iowa Central that he was more or less the same guy for them, just at a higher level, and now committed to UIC. Hit 11 home runs as a freshman there as well, like which that checks out just based on the caliber of player and the weapon he was as a right-handed hitter, middle of the order type guy. So he could have a huge year at Iowa Central before he heads out to Chicago. So that's big. Owen Nowak has kind of an unorthodox like left-handed swing, but he's this strong, just all-around player. He was hurt last year, I believe. Right, Fields, is that right? He missed the spring.
He got hurt
spring.
in the fall. He dislocated his shoulder,
Puma.
but he ended up playing and performed pretty well.
Okay, yeah, because he was a really strong high school player at Union Grove. He had a great year as a senior, went to McHenry County, was phenomenal for them as a freshman, and then, yeah, like Field said, he kind of followed that up for them as a sophomore, but Middle Tennessee State. And then Eddie Evelyn was another kind of JUCO, like success story, I guess if you want to call it that. But he was someone who we kind of just ran into, or I saw him pitch against Christian Opper once, just kind of a random day. Went to go see Christian Opper throw. Eddie Evelyn ran into Eddie Evelyn, who pitched really, really well that day himself. Was just kind of a mid-80s guy with 3 pitches, but just continued to grow into velocity, and eventually found his way at Southeastern in Iowa. Pitched like 50 innings for them as a freshman. Actually beat LSU Eunice, the top program in the country, at the D2 level. So that was pretty cool to see that and hear of Eddie doing that at Southeastern. So eager to see how he comes back from an elbow injury in 2025.
Connor Gidley is somebody you can talk about in the same light as Owen Nowak. Like, they do it a little unorthodoxly. Gidley is a middle infielder that can play every spot in the infield and is a right-handed hitter. Nowak's a left-handed hitting center fielder, but it's game speed, and they're just grinders, and they perform at a high level. Gidley hit 384 as a freshman, almost walked as much as he struck out, had a ton of extra base hits, and was just a standout or a staple in the Rock Valley's lineup.
Before we wrap up, I also wanted to just spend a little bit more time talking about some of the recent alumni from the junior college level. I thought that just we really didn't get to talk about, but they might be the prime examples of like junior college studs. One, first and foremost, being Michael Carpenter. Last year, 2024, he was the Region 4 Player of the Year. In the division, he broke the Madison's school record for strikeouts in a season with 111. I'm just reading through the accolades here on the site. Like, he threw 45 consecutive scoreless innings from March to May. He was as dominant as they come. He was just this really athletic left-handed pitcher, throws strikes, really nice changeup, tight little breaking ball. I mean, Fields, you saw him more than I did in college anyway. What'd you see out of him? Like, he had pro guys on him which like surprised me initially, but then just hearing the player he kind of developed into, it was like, oh well, that's kind of a no-brainer. So yeah, why don't you dive into Carp a little bit?
Yeah, I've seen Michael Carpenter as both a freshman and a sophomore, and the last outing I saw was the playoff outing against that was Morton College, and he was facing a pretty stout Morton College lineup. Miguel Cantu is at Indiana State. Angelo Luna is now at Georgia Gwinnett, which is one of the top NAIAs in the country. But Michael Carpenter was just utterly in command the entire time he was out there. Just was able to locate throughout the zone with all of his pitches. It was a hoppy fastball, 89 to 92 that day, that got multiple swings and misses in the zone. It was he mixed in both a low 80s breaking ball for strikes and a mid 80s changeup for strikes, and it was he looked like a big leaguer on the mound throwing against junior college players, realistically. And 45 consecutive scoreless innings. I didn't know that going into that. That honestly, it just puts the outing I saw more into perspective of just how special Michael Carpenter's season was last year.
Yeah, and just to relate it back to like why this was such a good fit for him is just that like he was just an athletic player who played a bunch of different sports in high school, who just didn't quite have like the time obviously to focus on baseball until he hit campus in Madison. He pitched right away. He wasn't quite the same guy as his freshman year, obviously, but clearly that was in there with the athleticism he has, and just like he wasn't far off from it. And obviously, it all clicked for him in between his freshman and sophomore years. And East Carolina, they do an amazing job out there. They're like a really, really, really good mid-major program. Like in baseball, it's like I think it's even unfair to refer to them as that essentially, just because of the quality of work they do out there. So if they're looking at you, East Carolina, like I think you're doing a lot right, and that is exactly what Michael Carpenter is, and they were on him from the get-go. So just kind of goes to show, like, go where you can play, go where you can pitch and thrive and develop and win and learn how to win. So Carpenter is like the shining example of that for sure.
Yeah, one of the last East Carolina commits from Wisconsin was Evan Krasinski, who was almost made it to the big leagues. I think he's retired now, but got up to AAA with the Cardinals, big lefty, and had a good career there. And I believe East Carolina also committed Mike Trout back in the day. So something about cold weather talents, I guess. Trout never made it to East Carolina, but I think it's worked out for him pretty well.
Yeah, Luke Nowak, future gamer from a few years ago from Menominee Falls. He spent the first 4 years, I think, at East Carolina. He was a high-level athlete too. So yeah, they don't like shy away from the Midwest. Like I think they're doing like some advanced scouting out here, which is kind of cool that there's programs like that exist.
Yeah, and then another arm that kind of fits the same mold as a couple guys we've already talked. Griffin Smith was a guy that we maybe overlooked when he was in high school, and then once he got to Rock Valley, he just hit the ground running. It was almost like we saw a completely different pitcher as a freshman in the fall, considering that we had looks on him throughout his high school career. Griffin Smith ended up committing to Washington State after being an All-American his sophomore year, and now is the leading innings getter, the leading strikeouts getter at Rock Valley. So just accolades on top of accolades for Griffin Smith, just like with Michael Carpenter, and has formed himself by his own work alone, just the competitive nature and his work ethic, formed himself into a Power 4 pitcher, and that was at Washington State. And is poised to be an impact arm for them this upcoming spring.
Yeah, and lastly, wanted to mention too, Nick Williams, Union Grove, another Union Grove kid who always like enjoyed talking to him. He was a really great kid to be around. Worked really, really hard. He was really versatile too. He played a ton of different positions. He was a switch hitter in high school. I think his brother was a standout hockey player. He might have been himself actually as well. So just another versatile kid who ended up playing at a more prominent junior college program, Wabash Valley in Illinois. And then eventually just this past year, this spring at Michigan State, he played a ton for the Spartans, hit .313, 5 homers, 15 doubles, 37 walks as well. So like he's another example to me that sticks out of, despite Wabash being like a really, really competitive environment, especially at the Juco level, he found a way to stick out there athletically, and then eventually find a next level home for himself too. So shout out to Nick.
Well, Vinny wasn't with us for most of the episode while we talked about Juco guys, but he did come on for the Rotino Report. He's irreplaceable on the Rotino Report. So sticking with the Juco theme, Vinny, who's today's player that you're featuring?
Yeah, today we are talking about a kid that I am very excited about. I know a lot of people that are in the know on the JUCO circuit, as you guys all are. And this kid is Luis Serrano. He's a 2022 grad of Jefferson High School. So look, he's 5'5", okay, but he is built like a fire hydrant. So you got to get past the height of this kid, because this kid has tools. I mean, he's got tools that can really play up the middle. He's an up the middle defender, but he's got tools. You're wondering whether or not this kid is going to be able to hit for extra base power. He will. Not sure if home run power is ever going to be there, but he will hit for extra base power. The speed is certainly there. He ran a 6.58 60-yard dash at our scout day at Bryant Stratton College at the end of August. He is a burner. He is a prototypical leadoff hitter. Walked more than he struck out last year for Bryant Stratton College. He's a redshirt sophomore this coming season. He was a redshirt freshman last year, played every game, played shortstop every single game for Bryant Stratton. He's going to play shortstop again for Bryant Stratton College just because he's probably got more of a home at second. He certainly has the arm to play short, 89 miles per hour at our scout day across the infield. He's got the actions, the clock. He's smooth. Again, it's a prototypical leadoff type of a guy up the middle. A four-year school is going to be very, very pleased next year when they get this kid because he is a gamer. And again, he has got tools as well. So you got to look past the fact that he is 5'5". He certainly has enough tools to play up the middle at a Division I program in the coming years. So very, very excited. And this kid is going to be fun to watch and fun to watch his future.
Yeah, one of many excellent talents around the state in the Juco ranks, as we've talked about throughout the episode. Luis Serrano certainly up there. Before we go, wanted to have a trivia question again. We've alternated with the trivia questions and the random fact of the day, and today we're going back to the trivia question. Today's question is, which Wisconsin native has the most All-Star game appearances? And I'll give a hint up front because there are a lot of Wisconsin players and good ones who have played in the majors. This is someone that I think as Wisconsinites, especially if you live in the Milwaukee area, you're probably pretty familiar with him. But he did play kind of a long time ago. So that's the hint I'll give. And you guys said you have maybe some guesses. Last time didn't go quite as planned, so hopefully this one goes better.
I'll jump in right away. In my guess, I think I'm right, so maybe I shouldn't go right away. Maybe you shouldn't give the answer right away until everyone guesses, David. But the only reason why I am guessing this is because I'm older than you guys, and I remember getting the baseball cards. I'm much older than everybody here. But I remember getting my top set and scrolling through. Well, now we scroll, but before you actually had to have something physical in your hand, and that's what I used to do with the baseball cards. And I remember Shane Raleigh, a Horlick High School grad, was an all-star back in 1987. That was my first set, I believe 86 or 87. So anyway, I'm going to guess Shane Raleigh, very talented pitcher from Horlick High School back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to guess Jordan Zimmerman up until you said Milwaukee area, and I feel like that's just it's not the answer anymore. So I don't have a guess outside of Jordan Zimmerman.
A lot of pressure riding on you, Andy.
Oh man. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if I have a guess. Well, where is Mike Sosha from Wisconsin?
Service. You're thinking of Scott
or
Service.
Maybe I'm thinking of Scott Service. Scott Service.
It is not.
Is
Do you want me to narrow it down to multiple choice? You guys all were wrong, actually.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wait. Give me one more guess. Bob
We're
Wickman.
all wrong.
Anyone else? Second guess? So Zimmerman and Bob Wickman were both two-time All-Stars, but the correct answer is Harvey Keene. So when I say he played a long time ago, he played in the 50s and 60s. He also had the benefit of playing sometimes when there were two All-Star games in one year, but he still was an All-Star for 8 straight years. He was a 10-time All-Star, so twice he made it, 2 times in the same year. Couple 200-plus hit seasons. He hit .353 and won a batting title in '59. And hit over 300, I think, 7 or 8 times, mostly with the Tigers, a little bit with the Giants and the Indians. And then, of course, wound up managing the Brewers later on and owning a bar in West Allis, maybe more impressively. So excellent player and obviously managed and coached for a while in the area too.
Well, we were way off, but wow, what a name! That's a great name, Harvey Keene. And if you guys haven't seen Just a Bit Outside yet, he is featured in that movie quite a bit. It's a must-see film. It's a documentary of the 1982 Brewers, and Harvey Keene is featured in there quite a bit.
I had to look it up. I went to Milwaukee Lutheran. So
Class of
What's Milwaukee
had to
Lutheran's mascot?
oh boy,
the Knights.
the Knights.
They were
Probably
part of
should've
the
guessed that.
original
Seems-
Metro Conference, which was powerhouse conference in WISA back in the day. So it was St. Cat's and St. Joe's in
Short in
Kenosha and St. Thomas More, Pius, Catholic Memorial, Marquette. I'm forgetting a couple. Milwaukee Lutheran obviously was in that conference. Dominican was in that conference. It's a great conference. There was a lot of talented players that came out of there. A lot of basketball players that played in the NBA. Like Nick Van Exel went to St. Joe's. Jim McIlvain went to St. Catherine's. There's a few more in there as well.
Do you guys know what Harvey Keene's ranking was in prep baseball's class of '49?
Had to
With
have
that
been
kind
up
of
there.
hit tool, we wouldn't have missed on
Had to
that
have
kind of
been
hit
up
tool,
there.
right?
No. Milwaukee area kid. Obviously, we're biased to Milwaukee kids.
Well, anyways, before we get too off track, we'll wrap up the episode. But enjoyed talking about JUCOs. Enjoyed talking about, there's so much talent, Division I talent, professional level talent, both at the JUCO level right now and some guys who previously were the junior college level. If you're a coach listening to this, make sure to be on those players who are going to be big impact players at the next level, because they will be. And if you're considering going the JUCO route, I think there's some good considerations that hopefully we were able to shed some light on, and maybe decide if that route is the best for you as a player, as a person, as a student, when you're looking towards those next steps. And speaking of Harvey Keene, who was a UW-Madison baseball alumni, we're going to sign off as usual. Let's bring back Badger baseball.